Well, hello,
Hello.
HSRA members. You are going
Hello,
to
hello.
notice that we are missing a Jana and we're missing a Lori and we're missing a Jill, but that's okay because we've gained a Daniel and we've gained a Lori and we've gained a Steven. So it's going to be an amazing workshop Wednesday. We are going to be talking about the benefits of marketing and networking. I know we've been talking a lot about this in the last couple of weeks about how you can ramp up your marketing, your sales, with the real estate industry doing what it's doing, the market doing what it's doing. We know a lot of staging companies are either really, really busy or they're experiencing a lot of, decrease in staging services or whatever. But either way, there is still business out there to be had. There are still relationships out there to be made. And so I am super excited because we are able to welcome three of our key Model My Home staff members coming hot off of an amazing trade show experience yesterday. HSRA was there. Lori Graham was in town. That's why she's not on here with us, because she is currently in the air flying back to California right now. So, but yeah, it was just a great experience. We were representing at the Apartment Association of Greater Dallas, their annual trade show. So I wanted to kind of just turn it over a little bit to the Model My Home team, let them share some of their thoughts on this particular event and kind of tell us a little bit about what your approach is right now going into Q2, Q3, Q4 for 2022 with the marketing, the networking, and really now that we're able to be in somewhat of a post-COVID era where we're able to start getting face-to-face with each other again. How amazing was it to be able to be in the room? I think there must have been at least 600 or 700 or more people between the vendors and the attendees to be able to be in that room and have that experience.
It was fantastic. It was a great day, right? Yeah. Steven, you agree? Great day?
Yeah, it was a great day. It was a great way to everybody there was getting their steps in, as it was very clear. It was a huge space, but it was full of the kind of people that either we want to work for or that we want to work with and our clients want to work with also, as far as like business to business relationships. So it was really neat to be there and talk to everybody about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the marketing part of it, we started out by looking at this event because we knew who was going to be there. Mm-hmm. This was specific to the Apartment Association of Greater Dallas, but it was more specific to the owners of multifamily units and to their managers. And those are the people that we are looking for our personal book of business for short-term rentals, and also people that we can partner with going forward to help other people get short-term rentals. So that in mind, we knew that this would be a place where there would be people there that would be on our radar that we would, and there's nothing better. You can cold call all day long, but there's nothing better than standing in front of them, having a good conversation, talking to them, finding out what their needs are, seeing how we can kind of work together. That was really, really valuable. So that's the first thing we did, is we picked this event for a reason. And that was the reason. And of course, marketing is the forward facing part of our company. It's the part that looks out and tries to find the people that we're looking for. So it was a great event for us. And when you're there, you have a booth. And so we had a 10 by 10 booth, and Lori was our designer extraordinaire for our booth. And what did you think about the experience of the booth itself?
Yeah, I think, to add on to what Daniel's just said, it's, there's a lot of variables that go into what are we going to showcase and how there's so many pieces to Model My Home, right? We've got, general staging, we've got short-term rentals, we've got investment properties, we've got all sorts of things. So how do we hone that in and showcase the best of what we're there to try and talk to all these attendees about? So there's a lot of different meetings that go into preparing for this. We ended up having a 10 by 10 booth space, which was pretty standard. Some folks ended up having, double the size, but for the most part, everyone had a 10 by 10. And I would say overall that worked out best for us to be able to accomplish what we needed to accomplish and have enough space within the booth to invite people in. It gave us enough space to have a video reel playing that showcased all of our different projects that we have going on, really showcasing a lot of before and afters, what we've got in the pipeline. Having a QR code was key for us on all of our materials that we had. One of the first things we talked about this morning was, what are some of the results from all of our different marketing materials that we had, whether or not it was a banner that was behind, as a backdrop, whether or not it was a handout that was given to any of the attendees. We've got little handouts that we had like little paper documents like so. Everything had QR codes on it and everything was able to be tracked on a click by click basis. So that worked out great for us, in addition to you guys making one-on-one conversations with people, right?
Yeah, tons of great conversations. And because it was such a big stage and so many players and thousands of people, I mean, there was literally 150 or 200 booths there. So there was enough people there just with the other vendors that we could have made it successful. But then they had 6 or 7 other 100 people come in as the managers and the owners. So in that situation, kudos to Lori, because we looked incredible. I walked up and down every aisle. I think most of you guys walked up and down every aisle, and I think our booth was just fantastic. It just had such a good visual to it. It's so good to be able to have all the great photos that our photo team takes basically, and our multimedia team. We got tons of materials out of that too. But just on the front side, to have all that great visuals there and to have the furniture and have it staged just perfect for us, that was a really, really kudos. I'm not patting us on the back. I'm giving Lori credit because she's the one who came up with the whole concept of the booth, and it was fantastic.
But it truly is a team effort. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you all will know too, as you plan to participate in different events and activities, it takes a team to kind of come together and decide, okay, what is the goal here? What do we want to accomplish? Is this going to be a test for us? Are we going to test this out and see how it does for us, so that we can then determine if this is something we want to participate in down the road or moving forward? Or, hey, this is so great. Are there other things out there that we need to be participating in? And let's put some focus and effort on really expanding our involvement in trade shows because of the great return on investment that we have seen just from yesterday's event. So it's surely a team effort. There's a lot of different people that are involved to help make it happen. But I do know from past experience, it does take sort of a gatekeeper per se to kind of pull it all together to make sure all the pieces are all going to work in the fashion that it needs to work in, that our logistics team knows when they need to go set up, when they need to tear down, who's going to be staffing the booth, who's going to be tearing it down at the very, very end so that nothing is left behind, all the different pieces. So thank you, but it is definitely a team effort.
Yeah.
Well, that is amazing. And I know that we are huge on bullet points. We've got a lot of people that can catch this video live, but then we also have a lot of you that catch it on the replay. So whether you are watching us live now, if you're watching us live, put in the comments any questions that you may have in regards to the event that we were at last night, or questions about marketing, questions about networking, and also put in the comments any tips and suggestions of things that you're currently doing within your company that are proving to be super valuable for you. So here's what I want to do. I want to put each of y'all on the hot seat a little bit from different perspectives of the networking process, whether it's trade shows or you're going to an investor meetup or anything like that. So Daniel, I want to have you speak kind of from the marketing standpoint and that, preparation in terms of the materials that y'all might bring, or the process of getting those things set up. I would love to hear from Lori some tips on like, how can you reach out to some of these trade shows? How can you get the most value? Like, what is like booth placement and visibility and things like that? Because I know a lot of our members do go to, real estate meetup events and things like that. So if you have any tips for the members there. And then Stephen, I would love to hear from your perspective on the sales side, because we know that we could invest a bunch of money and a bunch of time and make some great connections real time But if we don't have the what?
Follow up.
I was going to say, I know he knows where I'm going with this.
I'm like, she stopped. She wants me to say follow up. I had to
Oh,
unmute
yes,
my mic.
that's right. That's right. So I would love to hear, like, thinking of last night and the trade show event that we were at, like, what are your top tips that you're going to say, I'm going to execute these things to make sure that we purchased a lead list. So we have a list of all the attendees that were there. We know every vendor that was there. We've made, connections. So there was 4 of us there on staff that were at the event, walking the floors, sitting in the booth, talking to people, whatever. So we all got business cards. We all made connections. So kind of from start to finish. So Daniel, you're kind of thinking through, what are some tips that they can have as they're thinking through what events do I want to go to, whatever there. Lori, kind of give us some tips on the setup process, the thought process there. And then Stephen, wrap us up with some of the follow-up. So if y'all can kind of give us a couple, maybe 2 or 3 little tips, and Jill will make sure that she's getting them posted down in the bottom. And then y'all can be commenting or asking questions, but we really want this to be a value add for you. Let's share from our experiences. And then, we know that the networking and marketing is huge. So Daniel, kind of give us some thought processes on where do they need to go? How do they need to prepare for it? And things like that, especially from the perspective of realtor being in the real estate industry. You're thinking ahead of, what are these people going to want to know about your company?
Right, right. Well, the first thing I think that we kind of all agree on is if you're going to make a financial investment in order to go to one of these events, these booths are not really cheap. It may have cost $1,000 for a 10 by 10 there. If you're going to put that kind of money into it, then you need to go hard or you need to go home. That's the truth, because when we were walking up and down those aisles, I did see those players who had one person there sitting behind a table that had a table skirt, and that was it. And they were not investing their time at the event to meet people. They were waiting on people to come up and talk to them, and they were just passive. And you cannot do that. It costs too much. So make the investment to do it and then invest the time. And so the way we invested the time was we made banners and signage and specifics for our booth that would make us stand out. So once you stand out, then you get somebody's attention and they make eye contact with you, then know the person that should be in that room. And for us, again, it was owners and it was managers of properties. And then we knew there was going to be a third person there because they had a bingo card that was going around that they had to come to our booth for us to stamp their bingo card so that they could be in the drawing to win $750 or $1,000 or whatever it was. So they had to come see us, but we knew some of those people were just going to be there to get their booth stamped. That's okay. We were trying to have good conversation with those people too. Okay, so we built our questions around how are we going to interact with managers and how are we going to interact with owners. And then we know the way we're going to interact with the bingo card is we're going to give them their stamp. But the other ones, I think marketing is about getting the most information you can about somebody. That's what we're here to do, is to try to help and to serve. And you can't do that unless you have some basic information. So we're all about the open-ended question. Say, hey, how are you doing today? How's your business going? And then just be quiet and just let them sit there until they come up with an answer. And once they start talking, it's easy. Oh, yeah, tell me more. Mm-hmm. What else? And just let them talk and talk and talk. And they'll give you every bit of ammunition you need to try to build the gap of if we can actually work together, right? Because they'll give you all the information you need. So just interact with people. Don't ever have your table at the front of the booth, because there's a barrier built between you and the person. Put your table at the back if you have to have a table. We didn't at all. We had a little stool table and a seating area, but we were all standing up at the front, because when people are walking up and down that aisle, if they make eye contact with you and they recognize you as a person, then you have the right to talk to them. And all you got to do is say, hi, how are you doing today? And then when they stop for 1 second, say, are you a manager or an owner? And that got the conversation started. And that's the great conversation that I had was personally, they would just start talking and they would spill their guts and they would let us know exactly what they were doing, why they were there, all those questions that we could consider to be bullets in our gun to close a deal eventually. Right?
Yeah, I would add to what Daniel has just said from the logistical event perspective and setting up the booth and all that. Even before you even get on site, I mean, the way you need to establish a relationship with the event coordinator, with the person that is actually assigning the booth spaces is key. We're looking at an upcoming trade show now, and I made a point of not emailing him and just picking up the phone and calling him, and having a little chit chat conversation with him, and then saying, hey, so as you're making these assignments, what's the deadline, for us to kind of get more of a premier spot up closer to the entrance? Because the closer you can get your booth spot up closer to the entrance is the better chance you have of people coming by and visiting your booth.
More traffic.
Just a lot more traffic.
Yep.
So as they're making their way, 20, 25, 30 booths deep, if you and I both know, we get a little tired, So just having your booth space positioned, so if you can get a good relationship going with the event coordinator, and that's literally just picking up the phone and calling them. Good visuals is key. Spending some time to do some pop-up banners. If there's restrictions about hanging anything on any pipe and drape or anything like that, you've got to have your visuals nailed down and dialed in specifically. And then what we have found is just really being able to provide a way to connect afterwards. And that's through the QR code, that's through a business card, that's through a click app of any sort that you might have. So just a way to keep in touch with them afterwards. So for us, purchasing the attendee list and things like that is a way for us to keep in contact with people after the fact. And we will be doing that in the next day. So
And that was probably one of the cheapest parts that we could buy. At this event, we added it on for $160, and it gave us almost 1,500 verified names of people who are managers and owners.
And their contact information.
So that was incredibly valuable to us. It's going to be, right, Stephen?
There's my unmute button. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm insulating y'all from all the sniffles that I got going on right now. We had a crazy storm blow in last night, and it's wreaking havoc upon all of this. Yeah, and from the sales and interactions standpoint, I love what Daniel has been saying about wait for a response, open-ended questions, starting a dialogue, that whole thing. There were kind of two ways that I was approaching this, and this was a huge learning experience for me because I haven't done a lot of this kind of stuff. So, there's kind of the obvious, what can we do for you guys as apartments? And so for me, the easy thing was model apartments, furnished rentals, and then designing your clubhouse spaces. Okay, great. Well, let me ask you this, because sales is all about finding a problem and a solution. How much vacancy do y'all have? Oh, 2, 3, 5%. The most I heard was maybe like 5 to 10%. And I said, well, we come in and we look for places that allow corporate rentals. What if we grab 2, 3, 5 units for a 3-year lease? And it's extremely well maintained, and it's great people that we vet to come into those spaces. Are you interested? So I think between the 5 of us that were there, we got about 80 or 90 contacts total. And I would say for me, of mine personally, we had 10 or 15% that was about staging. I had over half of mine that were potentials that would maybe let us come in and set up our short-term rentals. Hello. And then the rest were business to business potentials. And so from there, I mean, the really simple response is follow up as soon as possible. Next day, ideally. Have I done that yet? No, I've got 27 people that I've got to reach out to. So do as soon as possible, make those connections. And then the biggest thing for sales, and I don't even want to call it sales, I want to call it connection. get yourself physically, personally, almost in the walkway. Say hi, put your hand out. Don't think about it. If you think about it, you waited too long. Say hi to every person. If they glance at your table, hey, how's it going? Oh, they glance at your table twice. Okay, they're interested. Start a conversation. They don't know that they're interested until they see that you're interested in them. That's kind of the sense that I got. So physically putting yourself in people's way and making them look at you to get past you and just saying hey and starting a conversation were the big things that stood out to me.
It's funny too, if you don't go into it with the expectation, you just go into it with the expectation of making a connection. Sometimes you didn't realize that they may actually be the person that feels the need that we have, because we have needs in our company too, right? Maybe the business will be this person might be the solution to one of the problems that we have. So just keep it open, and you'll figure out those connections easier, more natural that way, rather than trying to, hey, here's my sales pitch.
Sure.
Nobody wants to hear it.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we even went so far, I will go back and say that yesterday morning, when we do our morning meetings with the whole team, we had our team get in a line and we assigned them whether they were going to be an owner or whether they were going to be a manager or whether they were just going to be a bingo. And we gave them little cards, and they came through and they talked to the people who were actually going to be working the booth.
Just a mini little role play
tiny
session.
Little, and all you're trying to do is break the ice. The long conversation, we don't have to make them make that with us, but at least saying, hey, I'm Daniel. What's your name? Hey, who are you? That sort of thing. Who are you with? What company are you with? What property you manage? All those were just easy opening questions. And once you say it 4, 5, 6, 7 times, made it so much easier once you get to the actual event. You don't know those people. It's actually harder with the people you work with.
Well, and I would say too, just as Lori and I were walking the hall and visiting different vendor booths, don't allow people to make assumptions about your company and come to their own understanding of what your company does. Because there were several people that we were walking past, and if I were to just look at their company by their name or whatever, I may have assumed, oh, well, they just do valet trash or they just do this. But if there was something, either like what you're saying, they made contact, so that made me have to stop. And then when we started talking, it was, well, we also do XYZ. Then we were able to go into a deeper conversation. And there was several connections that I made where we were able to, even as we're representing HSRA, not just Model My Home. So we're here locally at a Dallas trade show, but we're talking to vendors and to owners that service and own nationwide, companies and organizations. So as we're able to talk to them and say, hey, we actually represent a national alliance of home staging and redesign companies, and a lot of them are getting into the multifamily space with short-term rentals and various things, then the potential to connect for them became more appealing. And then they're like, oh, well, we really need to connect. If you can, we can connect with you on a national level. So I really think that we have to be careful that we don't allow people to judge our company and what we can provide to them by the name of our company or whatever, and that we in turn don't do that to other companies, because like Daniel said, there's connections that can be beneficial, whether it's going to be a business relationship, we're going to serve them, or it's going to be a business relationship and we're going to work together with them to serve clients. So definitely something that we found a lot of value in, our team really enjoyed, and checking all the little boxes before and after, just to make sure that we know exactly what we're walking into. Definitely recommend having pre-meetings, post-meetings, just kind of determining what works, what doesn't work. And this isn't necessarily just for a trade show. This is any networking event that your company is going to undertake, where you're going to make an investment, whether it's time or money or both. You always want to go in with a plan, execute on that plan, and then have some post meetings to make sure that everybody that was involved knows what went well, what didn't go so well, and how would we tweak it to do it differently next time. So that's awesome. I am so thankful for you guys for joining with us today. Thanks for filling in, and we're making just making strides in the real estate service industry. I would just encourage all of our staging companies to just keep pushing, keep being creative, keep getting out there, keep connecting. You can see it here. I mean, they went out, they connected with people, and now they've got a whole host of new contacts that they can reach out to. And whether they gain business from them today or tomorrow or a year from now, it was a great investment of time and resources. So just encourage all of you to continue to get out there and network, and we have to market, and we have to think of marketing as more than just social media. Marketing is so much more multifaceted than that, and it's more than emails, and it's more than phone calls. It is getting out there with the people and doing different things like this. So thank you guys from Model My Home. Daniel, Lori, Stephen, thanks so much for joining us today, for sharing your experiences. And we will see you guys next Wednesday. I almost said next Friday. We'll see you guys next Wednesday here on Workshop Wednesday. You guys have an amazing week.
Thanks, everyone.